Hi guys, and welcome to my Pittsburgh Penguins preview for the Metropolitan Division for the 2018-2019 NHL season. So I have the Pittsburgh Penguins finishing first in the Metropolitan Division, which isn't too much of a surprise considering they were coming off back-to-back championships prior to last season. But this past season they made the playoffs, but they lost to the Washington Capitals in the second round of the playoffs, which was a bit of a surprise. And obviously, when you look at the Penguins, they're built around those two generational centers, and I believe Malkin is criminally underrated, especially when considering he wasn't even a top 100 player in the NHL history when that stupid list came out. Both are still performing at an extremely elite level. I mean, Malkin and Crosby are probably both top five centers. Crosby for sure. I think Malkin, all those defensive plays slipped, and his underlying numbers aren't as strong as they used to be as he ages. They're still amazing, and I think he's in the four to maybe the actually you can even argue three to maybe at worst six range, maybe seven. Um, so they in overall they have a really strong 1-2-3 punch, which I think is second best in the NHL only to Toronto. Um, Derek Brassard is obviously a really good third line center, but I read that they might try him out at left wing at camp, so I'm not too sure about that. I don't know. And I think that they're going to add Daniel Sprong to their lineup, which could be huge. I'm a huge Daniel Sprong guy dating back to his draft year. I think he's just incredibly skilled, and I know guys like Corey Proman at the Athletic are really high on a guy like Daniel Sprong, and I think that eventually, there's nothing stopping him from being a top line winger in the NHL. Going through last season, Phil Kessel 92 points, which is incredible. Um, I love Phil Kessel. I mean, he's elite offensively, pretty much nothing defensively, but who cares? Because he's amazing offensively, and just incredible offensively. So as long as you shelter him a little bit, he's going to put up points. I don't know about him getting 92 points again, but definitely in that 80-ish point range is where I expect Phil to be. Looking at the defense, it's not the strongest, obviously. Huge questions about whether Crystal Tang can stay healthy. He's had injury problems with his neck, I believe, in the past, and maybe concussions. I'm not too sure on that. Um, I hated the Jack Johnson signing. Obviously, 5 years, the AAV isn't too bad, but I just don't think he's a very good player, especially for 5 years. I mean, he couldn't even crack Columbus's lineup, and he's been kind of an analytics punching bag in the analytics community for a while. Um, but yeah, not too much to say about Jack Johnson. I don't really like him. I don't think if there's anything, maybe he's a bottom pairing defenseman. I don't even know if he's a good bottom pairing defenseman, especially for the money that they're paying him. Dumoulin's pretty good. Justin Schultz is pretty good. Um, Dumoulin's pretty good defensively. Schultz can move the puck really well. And in a structured system, he actually thrives. Who would have known? Matt Murray needs to stay healthy this season. I believe he had injury issues last season, and maybe some personal issues. Being the starter for the first time in his career without Fleury as a safety net. So looking at their on ice results, Corsi 4% 77th in the NHL at 51.84%, which is, I mean, Sullivan's system has obviously been really high octane and offensive heavy and offensive driven and really get up and go ever since he took over the Penguins coaching job. So that's not really surprising at all. Corsi 4 per 60 minutes, 52.27, which is seventh best in the NHL. Yeah, driven by their two elite centermen. That's not a surprise. In terms of Corsi against per 60, I was really surprised to find out that they were ninth best in the NHL at 48.56, which is surprising. I mean, I guess as long as you can get up to the centerman really quickly when you have two guys like Malkin and Crosby, as long as you get it up to them, the best form of defense is offense. So, goals 4 per 60 minutes, 11th best. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later in terms of their PDO, but I don't think this is sustainable. I think that they're going to be much higher in terms of their actual goals for on ice results. This season, they were a little bit unlucky this past season. In terms of goals against, 2.63, which is 28th in the NHL. So they really underperformed their expected goals against, which I'm going to get to in a minute, but they shouldn't have given up the 28th most goals against per 60 minutes in the NHL. Looking at their expected goals, which I got from Corsica, expected goals 4 per 60 minutes, they were at 2.55, which is fourth best in the NHL, which is right around where they should be considering their talent level. Not a surprise there. They have an amazing power play as well. I believe they stack up with Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, Hornqvist and Letang, and that's obviously, I mean, Hornqvist is one of the best net foot presence players in the NHL. He's a little bit underrated. They signed him to a long-term extension, and we'll see how that goes. In terms of their expected goals against per 60, it's 2.31, which is 19th best in the NHL. So um, Corsica puts them expected to give up 2.31 goals against, and in fact, they give up 2.63, which I could see coming down a lot. I mean, um, it's not common you see that much variance in terms of their expected goals against and their actual goals against results. So I expect that to come down. That's largely due to their PDO, which I'm going to talk about right now. So their PDO is at 98.06, which is 30th in the NHL. So they were an extremely unlucky team. I know that there was a stretch during the season where 5-on-5, they just really couldn't score for whatever reason. The shots weren't going in. So I expect their shooting percentage to go up a little bit, maybe their save percentage to go up a little bit, and their PDO should go up a little bit, and in result, their on ice results in terms of their goals for should go up, and their goals against should go down slightly. In terms of penalty differential, they were a -6, so they took more penalties than they drew, which is 18th best in the NHL, which again, they should improve because you want that power play out there. It's an elite power play with guys like Kessel and Crosby and Malkin and Letang out there on the ice. So their most important player to me is Letang. And without Letang there, if he's injured, there's not much there. He's an elite possession defenseman. Looking at his stats quickly, 98th percentile expected goals for, 90 plus percentile in all possession stats, including Corsi against, 93rd percentile in individual shots, and 87th percentile in individual expected goals. So he's an elite defenseman, probably top 15 for sure. And they need him badly. They need him to be healthy badly. And their minus player, I already ragged on Jack Johnson, but he's going to be my minus player. Not going to explain anymore why, because pretty much you should know why by now, and especially because I already explained it. So once again, I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to finish first in the Metropolitan Division, and they could contend for, they're a serious contender for the Stanley Cup, in my opinion. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.